The next Senators move might just be on the horizon after reports regarding an extension for one of the most important players on the roster. Hello, everyone. I am Eoghan Drumm, and welcome to Senators Digest, where we talk all things Ottawa Senators. Today, we are getting into some new reports as of yesterday regarding an active player on the Senators roster who is due for an extension, about where these talks currently are with the Senators organization and what the future may hold for them. So we will get into that, but first, please hit that subscribe button and stay connected with Senators Digest content. Let's get right into these reports that came out just yesterday as I am recording this video from Bruce Garriock. So the Senators' Steve Staios has stated that he'd like to get defenseman Artem Zub. Artem Zub signed to an extension. Zub's agent Dan Milstein sent in an email to the Citizen, and there haven't been any formal discussions as of yet, but he does expect them to happen in the near future. And then there was a reaction to this from Kuda's Corner that Artem Zub has done every single thing required of him in this role at the elite level for the Sens. There aren't many defensive D-men on the planet better than him. Hope GM Staios and Hockey Agent 1, which is the Twitter account of Artem Zub, or the agent of Artem Zub, can get this done and soon. And I totally agree. Artem Zub has been one of the most valuable pieces of the Senators roster, really since he's made the roster back in the days when it was COVID. And he does a lot for this team defensively. Mostly, he helps out Jake Sanderson a bunch. He allows Sanderson to really be that offensive threat that he is. Zub is that defensive protection for him, allows Sanderson to play more offensive, play more aggressive. And, when Zub's out there, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get hard defensive minutes. He's not going to give up much. He's going to be hard on his opponents in the corner or in front of the net. And he plays exactly the style that Travis Green wants out of him. He is probably the most important player in terms of success for this Senators roster. There's not many players like him in the NHL that are strictly just focused on defense. A lot of the number one defensemen out there are more offensive focused, and then defense, there's some holes, but obviously it's still there. Zub, strict defense. He is one of the best when it comes to defensive defensemen, and we'll see that when we look at some of the other top defensive defensemen in the league, how good he actually is. And he does have some injury history, which we'll see when I show the stats here in a moment. But when he is healthy, which he has had some good seasons where he's been able to stay healthy. Like I said, he's so valuable to the team, and they need him if they want to continue building what they already have. He's so vital to this roster, and like I said, he is an example for all of the younger defensemen behind him in the depth chart to really just focus in and lock in on their defensive abilities. Players like Tyler Klevin and Nicholas Matenpalo, they really lean on him to be an example on their defensive abilities and help them grow into the player that they really want to be in the future. So let's just take a look at Artem Zub's stats over the years, starting with last season, of course. So last season, he had just 30 offensive points, 5 goals, and 25 assists. That's not horrible. Obviously, you would expect more offensive prone defensemen to be higher, but he's not that. He's a defensive guy. And when we look at the defensive stats here, 120 blocks, which is in the 95th percentile in the NHL. That is a lot of pucks that is hitting your body, and I'm sure it takes a toll on him after a while, but he battles through it after every one. Hits, 67 hits, which is in the 68th percentile in the NHL. 26 takeaways. He's good at taking away those angles as well. And let's look at his overall career statistics. I want to pinpoint the plus minus here. I know people talk about plus minus, bit of a wonky stat and not the most reliable. But, when every season is in the positives, that's got to mean something. Essentially, that means he's on the ice for more goals for that the Senators score compared to goals against that they allow. So he is able to keep the puck out of the net when he's on the ice. So, it's obviously a big thing to look at, I'd say, when you're looking at overall value for a defensive player. And then points as well. Last year he had a career year in points and tied it, or no, he had 6 goals here in 21-22. So goals wasn't the highest, but assists, 25 assists, which was a career high. You know, maybe he's becoming a little bit of an offensive threat, learning from Sanderson a little bit. You know, I wouldn't count on it there, but, you know, he is definitely someone who can get some points at the end of the day. So yeah, again, defense is really where he locks in on. Let's just take a look at more analytical stuff here. So he has a plus 8.8 defensive rating from last year, which is in the 99 percentile in the NHL. He's one of the best, like we said. He really knows how to do it. So how much money exactly will he be, or do I think he'll be making for his next contract? Well, I have some other players here that I think are quite comparable in terms of their defensive abilities. So we'll just take a look at that real quick. The first one here is Jonas Brodin of the Minnesota Wild. So his defensive rating is slightly higher than Jake Sanderson at 9.6, which is a percentile of 100. Yes, that is top end of the league right there. You're not going to get much better than that for really any player. And how much is he making on his contract? So he is making $6 million, and this contract was signed in 2021-22, so before the cap really spiked up. So his contract's probably going to get a little higher, probably more in the $7 million range if I had to guess. Let's take a look at another one. A lot of people say this is the top defensive defenseman in the league, Jacob Slavin of the Carolina Hurricanes, and he is really their number one defenseman, so they treat him like the Senators treat Sanderson essentially, and he's more of a player like Zub, who's more of a defensive guy. Look at his offensive stats, only 8-point total last year, and he is making $6.396 million, and that contract was just signed, so that is pretty similar to the market that Zub will be entering in terms of the salary cap market. So if I would to make a prediction right now, I think a perfect spot to sign Zub would be around 6.5 million, just above Slavin. Obviously Slavin, people say he's a better player, but I mean, when you look at the defensive numbers for Zub, they are better than Slavin's. So I feel like he's gonna get a very similar contract to that. But I think 6.5 is a good spot for him. It's not that much. It's not too much, but I feel like that's a respectable amount for a player like him for the amount that he does. He does do a lot. However, if he were to do more offensively, that number could definitely be higher. However, since it's only defense, I would say it'd be definitely a little lower than like Jake Sanderson, of course. So I think 6.5 is a good number for Artem Zub. And again, this is a guy I want them to have locked up before the start of this upcoming season. Once they get into the season, you know, his value could change, it could get higher, and then they might have to spend a little more money. He could have another offensive year where maybe he puts up 10 goals, and then they'll really have to rethink their salary or their salary that they want to give him. But what do you guys think Artem Zub deserves, and should the Senators lock him up now, or should they wait and see if his value changes a bit so they can save a little money? Let me know what you think in the comments. I love all the comments you guys have been leaving lately. It's great. I love hearing all of your feedback and what you guys think about the Senators organization. And I love if you guys keep it up. So that's all I got for today. Thank you all for watching. Again, please hit that subscribe button. Stay connected with Senators Digest. And I will see you guys all next time.